Hello, beautiful light beings. Shannon O'Flaherty here. And for all of you new people in the group, Heart Centered Purpose, I'm so happy to have you here and joyous that you joined this group, hoping to find a better way to move forward, figure out all of those reasons, what's holding you back. And today I wanted to speak to you about when you're feeling out of balance in your life. Hi, Jenny. And really, when we're out of balance, that's the same thing as not being in alignment, being in your center, really. But it can show up in different ways in our lives. Sometimes when we're a kid and we're out of balance, we might not understand what that's all about. And so we would cry, let our parents know that we're not happy for whatever reason. Maybe we didn't know how to express that feeling of out of balance, but something wasn't right. So we wouldn't be that happy, carefree child when we were feeling out of balance. Hi, Amber. Thanks for watching. So what's happening when we're out of balance, probably most of the time, is that we're not following our intuition. Our intuition, or our gut feeling, is our guiding force. It's absolutely our guiding force in life. So when I was a kid, my intuition sometimes would tell me, no, that's not a happy place for me to be, for whatever the reason. Maybe I couldn't always figure out what it was, but I would feel uneasy in my stomach, or maybe get a little bit scared. And sometimes younger children, they might hide or run away from something, but I would feel unsafe when I felt out of balance when I was a child. I remember being in the park once with my girlfriend, and there was this man. He could have been an 18-year-old for all I know at the time, and he was following us. Now, he didn't say anything and he didn't do anything, but he just seemed to appear everywhere that we were. And we noticed it because we felt uneasy. So that as little kids, we were trusting that intuition, and we ran really quickly to my great aunt's house to take refuge there. And they called the police, of course, because why would an older man be kind of showing up everywhere these two young girls were? Hi, Darice, if I said that right. Anyway, then as you get older, your intuition works for you in other ways. In high school, you start to meet a lot of different people and acquaintances, and you get yourself in all sorts of situations, some of them maybe not so good, and you start to have an inbuilt feeling about things, about what is good for you. One time in university, I remember I went out with a girlfriend, and we were in a strange part of town, not really close to the university. I don't know why we ended up at this bar there. I've never really been a great drinker because too much of a lightweight. And there were some guys, probably about our age, maybe a little older, but I didn't feel right. And I didn't know anybody in this bar, and I was scanning the room because I wanted to go home. I didn't want to go out with these guys anymore. We hadn't gone out with them in the first place. We just met them at this bar, and my friend said, no, let's go. It'll be fine. And I thought, no. My dad always used to call it my no voice. Do you have your inner no voice working? And that's kind of what it is, to keep you in balance. So I scanned the room, and I saw one guy who looked vaguely familiar. And I said, I think that you're in my PE class at uni. And he said, oh yeah, I kind of recognize you. And I said, how are you getting back? And he said, I've got a car. And I said, could I have a ride, please? Now, this was a total stranger too, but I felt better with him that he could take me back, and he delivered me safely back to the dorms. Well, my friend went out that night, and she was raped. So I must have had some sixth sense going that this was not a safe place to be. Even though, for all intents and purposes, everybody was jolly, happy, having a lovely time, they weren't threatening in any way in the bar. I just got a feeling. And it's these impulses that you get, your intuition, that are going to keep you in alignment. So when I married Bobby Baby and we moved to England and we were driving up to Yorkshire because it was his spiritual home, driving along, and I'm seeing all these towns thinking, okay, everything is foreign here. Everything is really foreign, tiny, cute, quaint, kind of dark stones, darkness. And I'm just driving thinking, okay. And then we get to Ilkley, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful tourist town, Ilkley Moor. I know if any of you are British, you're probably singing now, Ilkley Moor Batat. It means on Ilkley Moor without a hat. Famous place. It's actually a very stunning place to live. And even though it's in a valley, it seemed to open up more than all of the other towns around. But in my gut, I felt, oh no, no, this is just dark. But I was so in love with Bob, and he had friends there, and it was a cultural, vibrant place with a theater company. That's what I was into at the time, and it was close to Leeds and close to Bradford. It kind of ticked all of the boxes about what I needed at the time. Hi, Lisa. And Leslie, hello. And so we settled in Ilkley in Yorkshire, and all the time I just felt, and I didn't understand this because I didn't know, I hadn't started on my spiritual path yet. I didn't understand how I constantly felt exhausted. I felt like I had chronic fatigue syndrome. Sometimes I'd be standing just in the post office thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna just pass out. What is wrong with me? And I felt sad all the time. This was before we had babies. And I didn't understand that it was the energetic location of the place. There's some places work for you and some places don't. I've been to really stunning, beautiful places all over the world. And for me, just, oh no, can't stand it here for whatever the reason. But Ilkley really wasn't my place. And I have just been up there. I will always be going back to Ilkley because that's where we ended up staying for a long time and raising my kids. One of my teachers told me that you end up living in the hardest place for you to live so that you can remember who you are. And I thought, wow, well, that's certainly true in my case. And so then I started to have clients up there in Ilkley. And a lot of people from different places, other countries, had the same experience I did. Like, oh, the energy's so heavy here, so heavy. And I thought, yeah, welcome to my world. There was a lot of witch histories there, a lot of kind of intense things that went on up in that kind of Yorkshire area. And even when I was just up there recently for 10 days, I noticed, I thought, wow, how did I ever live here so long? Because even though it is very beautiful, I think it's certainly one of the most beautiful areas in England, the energy is still really, really challenging for me up there. It makes me feel heavy. It makes me feel shut down, that I want to hibernate. If I'm there too long, I get really bad headaches and I feel exhausted all the time, kind of paralyzed, like I don't want to do anything. And then when you're out of balance for too long, negative thoughts, all of the things that we're aiming to stay away from can come in and stick with you much more. And then overwhelm can develop, because if you're out of balance consistently for a long time, everything feels like it's just too much. Everything feels out of alignment. Not just you, your center, oh, I'm having a little bit of an off day. the whole world, everything is a drama. I mean, I can remember completely losing the plot over not finding the scissors where the scissors are supposed to be. If any of you are mothers and have that junk drawer and kids and things don't get back to where they're supposed to be, I mean, I was like a mental case, completely having a meltdown. Anybody relating to this? You end up having meltdowns over completely unimportant things because you're not in your center, because you're not trusting your intuition. You're not lining up with yourself and thinking for a moment, hold on, and feeling into what you're feeling. Is this right for me? Is this a right place for me to be? Now, when you practice this, which means waking up, meditating first thing in the morning, not jumping out of bed, turning on the news, tending to everybody else around you, set your alarm earlier if you have to. Okay, good, Jenny, resonating with the energies. Yeah, I know, it's tough up there. Anyway, you need to take care of yourself first before you can deal with anybody else, because otherwise you're just frantically leaping out of bed in the morning when you haven't had time to kind of get back into your body first thing in the morning, get into your happy space, get in alignment, greet the day with wonder and appreciation and gratitude. And then you go. And hopefully you do not turn on the news first thing, because why be met with all of the trauma of the world right away? You can find out about that later. If you really must watch the news, you can read the paper, which is less harsh than watching the news because they scream it at you and show you visuals, and you really don't need to have that much information. You just don't. You can find out the information that you need in an easier way if you're absolutely intent on watching the news every day, because it will put you out of balance. It will shove you right out of your spiritual alignment with Source. So when you don't trust your intuition, you're doing yourself a great disservice, because you'll be in overwhelm. A lot of people have been talking about anxiety, huge amounts of anxiety. Well, that's what happens, because basically one low feeling can exacerbate and grow and grow and grow until it's completely overwhelming you. You get overwhelmed, you get stuck in your feelings, lost in your upset, can't get out of that spiral in your mind to get quiet and still and connected back to God. This is what it's about. If you want to stay in balance in your life, you need to take care of yourself first. You need to wake up in the morning and you need to meditate. Listen to something beautiful, soothing, soft music. Bring yourself quietly and gently into each day. Create that time for yourself. Ground yourself if you tend to not be grounded. If you tend to be walking into walls and bumping into things all the time or breaking things all the time, it's because you're not grounded and your head is somewhere else. That's not being present in the moment, which is all about being in balance, being in alignment. All of these things kind of go together. And you need to clean up your thinking, because there's a lot of negative thinking and worrying. So if you have fearless faith and you're completely connected to Source energy and you're putting out that love energy all the time and then worrying, but what if it's not going to happen? You're basically keeping a back door open and letting all of that good stuff fly out the back. It's fearless faith. It's about going forward, putting out your intention in a present, positive way for yourself and trusting that it's going to happen. We can only take care of ourselves first. We can hold space for others with their highest and best thoughts and energies in mind and transmit that kind of love energy to someone else. But each person needs to do the work for themselves. You can send healing to other people, but you still need permission from them or their higher self so that you're working from a place of integrity. But that's another conversation. Let's just work about keeping ourselves in balance first before we attempt to take care of everyone else. Because really, at the end of the day, we're only responsible for our own health and happiness. No one else is. We're there to guide and facilitate our children's path in life, but after they're of a certain age, we have to let them go. So I hope that gives you some kind of clarity on getting yourself in alignment and learning to trust your intuition and pay attention to those little subtle urges. Now, if I get a thought in my mind that seems to come from left field, I think, oh, that's interesting. I better pay attention to that or look that up if it's something that I don't know about. Or if I get a calling to go to a certain place, I think that's interesting. I'm going to pay attention to that, because why would that information just pop into my head and come to me if it's good? Pay attention to the good stuff. The bad stuff, unless it's a warning to be careful or get out of a situation, if it's just negative thinking, let it go. Okay, that's it for today. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.